Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to watch the last video from the Napoleonic Wars from Epic History TV. This is Battle of Waterloo 1815. This is gonna be epic. Last time we saw Napoleon being exiled to Elba. I'm guessing he's going to return to France to fight his last battles against the coalition. Let's see how it goes. Original videos down below. Let's go.
April 1814. For 10 years, one man has dominated Europe.
Yep.
Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of the French. Under his military genius, France conquered an empire that spanned the continent.
Yep.
But finally, he has been defeated by a grand coalition of his enemies.
I understand that they're saying he's a great military leader and all that, and conquered most of Europe. He was also good politically, like in France. All the things he did in France and in the other regions. Of course, there's some military atrocities. It's always in war. It's always on both sides. But the civil duties, or whatever you want to call it, right? Civic duties. He did it great, right? If he wasn't a military leader, he would still be like a good president in France. Of course, he had too much ambitions to not be a military leader, as we saw that he tried or escaped from Elba right now, right? Okay.
Napoleon is forced to abdicate and exiled to the tiny island of Elba.
Yep.
While the Bourbon monarchy is restored to France in the corpulent form of Louis XVIII. But rumors soon reach Napoleon that France would welcome his return. The French people have little love for the monarchy or its hangers-on.
Yep. Because think about this. The very same royal family that they did a revolution against is in the same place as they started. So the revolution and the Napoleonic Wars didn't happen, sort of, right? Wow.
People whose excesses led to the French Revolution 25
Exactly.
years before.
Yep.
He also learns that at the Congress of Vienna, his enemies are locked in bitter dispute over the future of Europe.
One thing about the Congress of Vienna, I saw on, I don't know where I saw it, there's a channel that made a couple videos about the Congress of Vienna that I think I'm going to react to. Okay.
Napoleon decides to act.
Smart.
After just 10 months in exile, he returns to France, where the troops
10 months,
sent to
okay.
arrest him rally to his cause instead.
Wow.
Most of France soon follows suit.
Okay.
But in Vienna, the coalition immediately put their differences to one side.
Okay, that's good.
They declare Napoleon an outlaw and
Wow.
mobilize their forces for war.
Yeah, that's smart.
Napoleon knows he must act boldly before the coalition launches a coordinated invasion of France.
Yep.
He counts on winning a quick victory and then negotiating peace from a position of strength. He targets the coalition armies within easiest reach.
Okay.
Prince Blucher's Prussian army and the Duke of Wellington's Anglo-Allied
Duke
army,
of Wellington, okay.
both camped in Belgium.
Okay.
Napoleon's force is a match for either coalition army on its own.
Yep.
But he'll be heavily outnumbered if they're able to join forces.
Divide and
So
conquer.
he must keep them apart and defeat each in turn.
Yep. Which is a standard Napoleon tactic. Right? Divide and conquer. 15th of June, okay. Okay. Okay, okay. So we know where we are, okay.
Napoleon's army crosses the frontier near Charleroi, intending to drive a wedge between the two coalition armies. The next day, Napoleon sends his left wing under Marshal Ney to take the crossroads at Quatre Bras.
Okay, so you can split them.
Clashes with Wellington's army, still scrambling into position.
Okay.
The Allied troops fight off a series of French attacks and just manage to hold their ground.
Ooh, uh-oh.
The same day, Napoleon attacks Blücher's Prussian army with his main force near the village of Ligny.
To try to keep him there.
It was a brutal slugging match, but the French emerged triumphant.
Okay.
The 72-year-old Blücher leads a cavalry charge in person and has his horse killed under him.
Wow.
He only just escapes capture. The Prussian army retreats, but it is not broken. Napoleon sends his right wing under Marshal Grouchy to keep them on the run, and turns his own attention to Wellington's army.
So everything is going as Napoleon has planned so far. He hasn't defeated the Prussians entirely, and the army of Prussia is still intact. But he's keeping the Prussians at bay and attacking the Britons. Yep.
The British general doesn't receive news of Blücher's defeat until the next morning, at which point he orders a retreat through heavy summer showers to a position 8 miles south of Brussels, near the village of Waterloo.
Ah, okay.
There he receives a promise from Blücher that the Prussians will march to his aid the next morning. So Wellington decides to stand and fight.
Because that was smart of Wellington, of retreating more northwards. So if even the Prussians that are being chased by the French, when the Prussians are going up the road, they're going to bump into the Brits, right? So the French has to wedge them in between the British troops and the Prussian troops, which would be very difficult. Okay.
Wellington has chosen his battlefield with care.
Okay, that's good.
His troops are behind a gentle ridge, which will give them some shelter from French cannon fire.
Okay.
His right flank is anchored on the farmhouse of Hougoumont, his center on the farm of La Haye-Sainte, and his left on the farm of Papelotte.
Wait, is that people's farms? Just La Haye, is that just two houses? Or I can't visualize them in my head, like how that looks, but okay.
All three are fortified and garrisoned with elite troops.
Okay.
Wellington's men need every advantage they can get. The opposing armies are roughly equal in size, but his is a ragtag mix of British, Dutch, and German troops.
Yep.
Many of whom have never seen combat before. They will have to hold off Napoleon's army of veterans until Prussian reinforcements arrive, or the battle and probably the war will be lost.
Okay.
Sunday, dawn
Let's
was
go.
bright and fair. Napoleon has ordered Marshal Grouchy to pursue the Prussians and keep them busy, while he defeats Wellington's army at Waterloo and opens the road to Brussels. But it's Grouchy who gets pinned down, fighting the Prussian rear guard at Wavre. The main Prussian force eludes him and is already marching to Wellington's aid.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Again, though, I have this sense, you can feel it in the air when watching this, that it's not going Napoleon's way. It went Napoleon's way when he sort of divided the British forces and the Prussian forces. But, you know, the only road that the Prussian could go is a road that's pretty close to where the British military, like, so, okay.
At Waterloo, Napoleon delays his attack, waiting for the ground to dry, which will make movement easier for his troops.
Makes sense,
The
but
lost hours will later prove costly.
yeah.
The battle begins around 11 a.m. when Napoleon orders a feint against Wellington's right flank at Hougoumont.
Ooh, oh.
He hopes Wellington will commit his reserves here, drawing them away from the centre, where the main blow will fall.
Okay.
But Hougomont's British and German defenders cling on desperately throughout the day. At one point, the French force their way through the main gate, but it's shut behind them.
Wow.
And the intruders are all killed.
Imagine being there.
Wellington later calls it the decisive moment of the battle.
Wow.
Around noon, 80 French cannon open fire against the main Allied line.
Made sense.
Most of Wellington's men are out of sight on the reverse slope, but many cannonballs still find their mark, smashing bloody holes in the Allied ranks.
Yep.
At 1:30 p.m., Napoleon sends in his infantry.
It just feels too quick. I understand hours have gone by, but it's for Napoleon to do this. It just something about it. I don't know. Yeah.
The French columns are met by disciplined musket fire and then charged by British heavy cavalry.
Wow.
The French attack disintegrates.
Yeah.
As Napoleon's men try to save themselves from the crushing hooves and flashing sabres.
Yep.
Scores of Frenchmen are ridden down, and 2 of their famous Eagle standards are captured.
Wow.
But the British cavalry, exhilarated by success, charge too far.
Yep.
They become scattered, their horses blown. At their most vulnerable, they're countercharged by French cavalry and suffer terrible losses. Among the dead, Major General Sir William Ponsonby, commander of the Union Brigade.
Wow.
Around 4 p.m., Marshal Ney thinks he sees the Allies begin to retreat and leads a mass cavalry charge to drive home the advantage. But Ney is wrong. The Allied infantry are ready, formed in hollow squares with bayonets fixed.
Look at this painting.
The French cavalry can't break into these impregnable formations. They can only circle impotently until they retreat or are shot from the saddle.
Wow.
Ney's failure to support this attack with either...
One thing though about that. So what kind of weapons did the cavalry have? Did they have like pistols? I would think they would have at least like, obviously they can only shoot one shot and that's it, right? Maybe they save that for when defending themselves instead of when attacking. I don't know. Maybe they did that. They're not depicting it here, so maybe they did that, but yeah. Okay. This is going terribly for Napoleon.
Or artillery is a serious blunder.
But the Brits are losing men.
Meanwhile, Blücher's Prussians have begun to arrive. They capture the village of Plancenoit, threatening Napoleon's flank and forcing him to send reserves to recapture it. Around 6 p.m., French infantry finally capture the farmhouse of La Haye-Sainte in the center of the battlefield.
But I mean, do you want to be right there? I understand it's an anchoring point, but do you want to be there? They can just concentrate their cannon on you. But okay.
It allows the French to bring forward artillery.
That is also true. Okay.
From close range.
Okay, fair enough.
They can't miss the closely packed formations, and casualties quickly mount.
Okay.
It begins to seem that if Wellington's army doesn't retreat, it will be killed where it stands.
I don't get a sense of that they will be defeated though. I understand Napoleon is gaining some momentum here, but is he though? He's in the center, stuck, sort of, having cannon. Okay, that's going to be inflicting terrible losses on the British in the square formation. But is Napoleon going to send in his cavalry again after they've used their cannon and break up the squares? Has he taken the British left flank or right flank? No. So, and the Prussians are coming.
But the situation for Napoleon is also desperate.
Yeah.
The Prussians are arriving in force.
Exactly.
And he's running out of men to throw against Wellington's army. So he turns to his ultimate reserve, the elite Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
The most feared troops in Europe.
Uh-oh.
At 7:30 p.m., 3,000 of these battle-hardened
Wow.
veterans march past their emperor and across the corpse-strewn battlefield towards the Allied centre. Wellington's redcoats rise to meet them and pour devastating volleys of musket fire into their ranks.
Look at this.
When the Allies fix bayonets and prepare to charge, the Imperial Guard wavers and then retreats.
Wow.
Wellington, sensing victory, orders a general advance.
Yeah.
About the same time, the Prussians recapture Plancenoit. News of the Imperial Guard's defeat and rumors of encirclement by the Prussians sweep through the French ranks.
Yeah.
Panic breaks out, and the French army flees the battlefield. Only Napoleon's old guard maintain their discipline, mounting a heroic but doomed rearguard action.
Yeah.
Napoleon himself is forced to abandon his carriage and barely escapes the pursuing Prussian cavalry.
Wow. Devastating.
The battle is won. The Duke of Wellington and Prince Blücher meet and congratulate each other outside Napoleon's former headquarters, an inn called La Belle Alliance. Blücher thinks it's the perfect name for their shared victory, but Wellington prefers the more English-sounding Waterloo, where he has his own headquarters.
Nice. That's where it comes from.
The Battle of Waterloo was, in the words of the Duke of Wellington, a damned near-run thing.
Yeah.
It was also
one thing though about the Prussians and the British being friendly and all that. 100 years after this, 99 years after this, it's not the Prussians. It is sort of the Prussians, but in World War I, right? On the Western Front, right? They're gonna be enemies. Things change.
So one of the bloodiest battles.
And France will be on the British side.
Around 50,000 men were killed or wounded. 23,000 coalition casualties, 27,000 French.
Okay.
Due to an appalling shortage of medical care, many of the wounded were left lying on the battlefield for several days.
Yep.
Napoleon was utterly defeated. Unable to raise another army, he surrendered to the British.
Okay.
They transported him to a second exile on the tiny, remote Atlantic island of St. Helena. This time there was no escape. He died there 6 years later. Waterloo marked the beginning of a period of relative peace in Europe.
Yeah,
there were
sort
no
of
wars between the great powers for 40 years, and the British would not fight on the continent for another 100 years, until the summer of 1914.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. 99 years after Waterloo. But was it actually because, yeah, the Crimean War, yeah. But when was the Prussians and Austrians fighting each other, and the Prussians fighting the Danish? When was that? Maybe that was like in the 1860s. Maybe, I don't know. Whoa, what's this?
40 years after the battle, a pioneer in the new art of photography captured these remarkable images.
Wow.
They're veterans of Napoleon's armies, by then all old men in their 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Wow.
Among them, Sergeant Tanya of the Imperial Guard,
Wow.
Moray of the 2nd Regiment of Hussars,
Look at that.
and Verlin
Amazing.
of the 2nd Guard Lancers.
Wow.
These faces are a tantalizing link to the dramatic events that shaped the course of history 2 centuries ago.
Wow. That's amazing. That was an amazing series. The Napoleonic Wars. That was amazing by Epic History TV. Amazing. I saw that they had a like 3 or 4 part video of Napoleon's generals. I might do a reaction to that one as well. Alright. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.